Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to talk about some study habits that I think you should quit right now. These are some of the habits that can really harm your grades and are really not effective as far as study methods are concerned. Before starting with this video, I wanted to give a little disclaimer that I don't want to discourage you from following your own study methods that you're following right now. This video is just from my past experiences and from some research that I did for making this video. The very first study habit that I think that you should quit right now is not planning your days. If you guys have been following me on Instagram, I have been posting content there consistently from the past 1.5 years, and there is one thing that I stick by 100%, and that is planning. That is to plan your days. I always prefer to plan my day, at the night before, but it does not happen most of the time. But I try to do that because when I wake up, I already have a list prepared. I don't have to, again think about all of those tasks that I have to do that day. I can just keep adding on to that list. But if you have to make them in the morning, that also works completely. What matters the most is that you are planning your day. The topmost reason of why planning my days has made my life so much easier is because I don't miss out on anything important by the end of the day. It has happened to me so many times, on the days when I didn't plan, that I always ended up missing a very important work task or a very important mail that I had to send, or if some brand reply I had to do or whatever, something like that. So I always ended up forgetting important stuff, and that is why just writing down everything from what you have to do in points is extremely crucial. But make sure that whatever to-do list that you are making, first of all, it is very clear. I talked about this in my last video as well, that your to-do list need to be very clear. Second, it needs to be manageable. Just make sure that whatever you are writing on your list, you are not overcommitting. You are not writing a lot of tasks, and then because at the end of the day you will be disheartened, first of all, and second of all, you will end up multitasking, which is not at all recommended, because if you're multitasking, you're not giving your 100% to either the task. That is another point that I had to talk about. But yeah, plan your days. One little tip that I have for this, apart from the other two that I mentioned, is that don't use those bulky planners that you get, because what I have noticed is that when I wrote my to-do list in those bulky planners, I just wrote my list and then closed it and kept it on my desk. So I never opened it. A to-do list is something that needs to be in front of you almost all the time, because firstly, if you are, for example, you started watching a show and you just got carried away, so first of all, you will see your list on the table and be like, oh, I have a lot of things to do. So you will actually shut down whatever show that you're watching and get your done. So what I really recommend you to write your list on is to buy one of those to-do pads that you get. For example, I have one right here. This is a to-do pad that I have. I have some stuff written for this weekend, so I'm just gonna ignore that. And this is a to-do pad. It comes has some sheets of it. I don't remember from where I got this from. I think a brand sent it to me. But yeah, you can get these to-do pads from anywhere that are very easily available. But yeah, always write those, because they are so small, they don't take a lot of space on your desk. You just have to write it and just put it on your desk. That is all. The second habit is cramming. What I mean by that is you are rote learning, basically. So if you have to study something, always make sure that you understand the concepts, because then only you will be able to remember it in the long run. Otherwise, you will end up forgetting it. And how you can test if you actually understood the concept properly or not? If you have to see, I have always said this, that the most important thing that you have to include in your study routine is active recall. And one of the ways in which you can implement this, by which you can check that you have actually understood your concepts or not, is by firstly blurting method. That is, just take a sheet of paper and write whatever you can gather from your mind regarding that concept, and then always validate that with your study material. If you're able to write a concept in your own words, that means that you have understood the concept 100%. Secondly, say it out loud. Just pretend that you are talking to a friend, pretend that you are talking to a camera, or just you're giving a lecture, you're a teacher, whatever works for you. I used to do this, teacher thing when I was a kid, but yeah, that really helped me. So always just say, explain that concept like you're explaining it to someone else. Then only you will be able to understand if you can actually, if you really understood the concept or not, and if you can actually explain it to someone else. The third habit is studying in bed. I talked about this in my last video as well, and in my last to last video, that your brain associates the places with activities that you do at those places. I can never ever I'm just never able to explain this right in the first go. What I mean by that is whatever activities that you are doing at a particular place, your brain will associate that place with those activities, right? For example, if you're using your bed for sleeping, that means your mind will associate your bed to sleeping, right? So what this means is that whenever you will go and try to study in bed, what will happen is that what will happen is that you will start feeling very sleepy, very drowsy, or you will not be able to stay focused for a long period of time. So avoid studying in your bed at all costs. What I would say is that have a desk, have a study space. Create a separate study place in your room or in your house. The most common one is the desk that I have, like a desk like this, and you can decorate your desk, make it comfy, and it is very affordable as well. Like I have just put some books and some motivational quotes on my desk, so it doesn't have to be very aesthetic, it doesn't have to be very expensive setup with lights and everything. It just have to be a comfy space where you feel productive and you can get your work done. The fourth is keeping distractions nearby. What I mean by that is your phone. Your phone is the biggest distraction in your life when you're studying. Of course, it is very useful as well, right? But yeah, it can lead to a lot of distraction, especially apps like Instagram. So what I have some tips, that I do in order to make sure that I don't end up wasting all of my time on my phone, is first of all, I put it on airplane mode so that I'm not able to receive any spam calls, I'm not able to receive any calls. But and of course you can use your Wi-Fi if you want. Second is to silence. If you have to use your Wi-Fi in your phone, you should silence your Instagram notifications. And if you're doing deep studying, if you have your exams coming up, just uninstall the app if you can. But if you don't want to, there are a lot of ways by which you can track your social media consumption. So start doing that. And another thing is to schedule a time during the day when you want to use social media. The next habit is that only doing what's easy. We all want to stay in our comfort zones, right? It is a place where we feel the most comfortable. But of course, no growth happens there. No good will be done, when you are in your comfort zone. So just get out of it. And by what I mean by that is, you should identify what areas you are weak at, and instead of avoiding those, you should focus on those topics and on those chapters more. What actually happens is that when we are studying, and if there is a topic that we know we are very good at, and we can score really well in that particular topic, we just end up doing that a chapter again and again, doing as many questions as we can, because we know that we will be able to solve most of them. But if there is a chapter that that you basically suck at, and that if you just sit down and start doing the unsolved problems, you won't be able to do it. You will start ignoring that chapter, you will start neglecting that chapter, which is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. A very similar example, a parallel that we can draw in our daily lives is that if you guys go to the gym or lift weights, we always say that you need to progressively overload. That means you either need to increase the weights, right? Or you should start increasing the reps that you can do with a particular weight. So it means that you have to improve, right? So just like that, you have to progressively overload when it comes to your studying as well. That is, you should start doing harder examples, harder questions, and just don't ignore those. And that brings me to the next habit, which is not doing your previous year's papers. There are a lot of benefits of doing previous year's papers. First is what we just talked about, that it will help you recognize your weak areas, your weak points, so that at least, because you can only focus, on your weak area only when you know that that particular chapter is your weak area. You know what I mean? So in order to recognize that, previous year's papers are your best friend, because you will be able to see that you can do one chapter however well you want. You can read that chapter 100 times from your textbook, or you can watch a lot of YouTube videos, or you can do online some practice problems. But the main place where you will be tested at is, of course, the exam that you are preparing for, right? So do some previous year's papers for that exam. If you're giving your boards, or if you're doing some competitive exam, needless to say, previous year's papers are a must. But if you are preparing for your college some semester exam, then also you can ask your teacher for some previous year's papers. And in college it is very easy to get previous year's papers actually, or you can ask your seniors as well. But go through some previous year's papers, you will understand what is the format of the question, the format of the paper as well. And secondly, you will be able to recognize your weak areas. And one more thing, these previous year's papers are an excellent way of active recall. Like I've been saying on my channel like 100 times, active recall is when you take information out from your brain instead of feeding into it all the time. And it is a great way to test yourself if you have actually understood the concepts or not, because active recall is actually what you have to do when you will go out there and give your exam, right? The next habit is not getting enough sleep. Recently, I made a post on Instagram which said some reasons why students require adequate sleep, and there were so many people in the comments and in my DMs who were like, I sleep for 5 to 6 hours, 4 hours, or I pull all-nighters very regularly. It is not good for you. 5 to 6 hours as a student is, there are some days when your exams are coming and you haven't finished your syllabus in time. You have to pull all-nighters. That is not normal, that is not recommended, but it is what happens, right? Sometimes it cannot be avoided. And I think on Studygrams and on YouTube we talk a lot about toxic productivity. I will make another video about it. There's a lot of things that I want to say about that. But you will always see people saying that don't pull all-nighters, very bad. They are bad for you, but you should also understand that it happens sometimes. The people who are saying that you should not pull all-nighters, there have been some times in their lives when they have pulled all-nighters as well, right? Or I have pulled all-nighters like a couple of times in my life, to be honest, not a lot, but yeah, there have been times when I have slept for like 2 hours, 3 hours. But don't do that before the night of the exam though. We have completely changed the topic, but yeah, getting an adequate sleep is very crucial. I have mentioned some reason in that post. If you want to check it out, I will leave a link of my Instagram down below in the description. Please follow me if you want. So in that I've talked about the benefits. So the most important ones that I can recall right now are, first of all, it will help in increasing your memory. It will help in increasing your focus, your concentration. Then secondly, it will improve your mood. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it happens with me, so I think it happens with a lot of you, that on the days when you don't get adequate sleep, you get, just end up being so irritated. Everything in the world irritates me if I haven't slept properly. So please sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours every single day, and make sure that you at least try that you are sleeping on the same time and waking up on the same time every day. The next study habit is multitasking. As the name suggests, multitasking is when you are doing multiple things at once. The biggest example of how we do multitasking on day-to-day basis is background noise. That is, we are doing some assignment and we have TV playing in the background, or we have our favorite show playing in the background. What happens because of this is that, first of all, you are not giving your 100 concentration either to the show or to the work that you're doing, right? You are not giving your complete focus to that, and it is quite hard for a brain to actually shift between two things so quickly, so that you're able to focus on both of those things completely. Okay, so make sure that you are doing only one thing at once. But if you still have to, the only reason then you should be using some background noise is when you're doing brainless activities, like you're cleaning your house or something like that. If you still want to listen to some music or whatever background noise you want to have while studying, then I would recommend you to go for some lo-fi, then I would recommend you to go for some not classical, basically music that doesn't have lyrics in them, like instrumental music. The second last habit that I have is following passive study method. The biggest passive study methods that are very much common these days is first of all rereading your notes, secondly highlighting all the time, and third is taking notes of everything by just simply copying it. If you are summarizing it in your own words and then checking if you have written everything correct or not, that is okay. But I have seen so many times when people are just they have just some paragraphs and they are just writing the same thing. That is not beneficial. So there is nothing wrong with making notes. I also did that, but make sure that you're making your notes smartly and not just copying stuff, right? So instead of passive study methods, you need to use active study methods. In active study methods, I have talked about in the previous video. They are, first of all, first is the blurting method, in which you take a piece of paper and write down whatever comes into your mind according to that concept, regarding that concept, and then you go and validate if your answer is correct or not. Second are flashcards. I would recommend you to use some apps for flashcards instead of writing on a piece of paper. They are a great way of revising if you know all the chapters or not. The third method of active recall that you can do is speaking your concepts aloud, that I just talked about in, I think, the second point. It was that how you can test if you actually understood your concepts or not is by saying them aloud, or talking to teach someone else, teach your friend, teach your wall, teach your pillows, teach your ghost, whatever. Just talk about it, say it out aloud. Last habit, and definitely not the least, is not getting help. There is absolutely nothing wrong in accepting that you need help. If you are not able to understand a concept from Google or from YouTube or whatever from your textbook, accept it. There is nothing wrong. Don't think that you're dumb, that you're not even, if you think that a particular concept is very easy, then don't ever think that that people will think that you're dumb if you ask this question to your teacher, from your teacher, your tutor, or your friends. Don't let that ego come in, because I keep saying because what is worse according to you? First, just feeling very egoistic, or feeling like people will think that I'm dumb, or second, if that question actually appears in that paper and you're not able to answer it properly, the second one is going to hurt you more. So just keep your ego aside, get some help, ask those questions from your teachers, your tutors, your friends, your parents, whoever you think can answer those to you. These are some help that I want to talk about studying. And second is about your mental health. Being a student is not easy. There are so many things that we have to juggle, right? We have to juggle, first of all, our school, our assignments, or college, or if there is some entrance exam that you're also preparing for. That is not easy at all, especially if you're preparing. I remember those days when I gave JEE mains. I had to prepare along with my school, so I had to. At that time, the board's marks were actually getting counted. So it was like you have to study for boards and you have to study for mains, your competitive exam as well. It is not easy. It is very hard. And along with that you have a lot of you have your social life, right? You have your friends. If you are in a relationship, then you have your boyfriends, your girlfriends, and you also have your parents who sometimes, I mean, your parents want your best, of course, but sometimes they end up, comparing or just saying Sharma ji ka beta or something, whatever. So there are so many mental things that we students have to go through. So it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to go to, I think a lot of schools and colleges now have counselors. I remember my school had one. She wasn't very good though, but yeah, they do, and you can find those online as well. So talk to someone. If you don't want to go to some counselor, or just talk to your friends, talk to your parents. Your parents are the ones that know you the best. They want the best for you, right? So talk to them, talk to whatever what you're feeling right now, and discuss everything with them instead of just keeping it all inside. That will harm you in the long run. So take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health. If you don't have time to go to the gym, go for walks, anything, just move that body, right? So yeah, that is all that I wanted to talk about in this video. I think I have covered all of the important study habits that came to my mind. And by the way, it's raining outside if you're able to hear it. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. If you guys like this video, please give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel, and please switch on that notification bell so that you are not notified whenever I post a new video. That's all. I'll see you next week.